Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining She Constructs. I'm here today with Darci. She is a first-year electrical apprentice with the IBEW Local 105 in Hamilton, Ontario. She comes from a background in project management within marketing companies. This is a second career for her. She wanted a career that she could support herself and her son and decided to look at construction. She was so inspired by other women in the trades, and now she wants to help inspire the next generation. Welcome, Darci.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am excited about hearing about your journey.
I'm very excited to share it.
Yeah, so I'm going to let you start. What's the start of this story?
Okay, so I kind of started down this road into construction about 2 years ago. So I had an opportunity to receive a grant from the Ontario government to go back to school. And I had never really had time to sit down and think about what I wanted to do. Like right out of high school, it was kind of like go to college, figure it out. And then I just kind of fell into a bunch of different careers that led me down into the marketing realm. So I was a studio manager within a marketing company. So I basically did traffic. So all the design jobs that were coming into the studio, I would assign and set up through the studio. And then like I was in Toronto working and living, and it just was so expensive. And I just kind of had an opportunity then to think about what I wanted to do. And I kind of almost said it as a joke, like, oh, I should just be an electrician. And then I was like, wait a second, why can't I? And I started going down and the rabbit hole on the internet, finding women in trades. And it was just so inspiring to see the women out there that were in the construction world. And I was like, this is something that I want to do. I've always been kind of handy, like working with my hands. Um, and then, so I got the grant to go back to school and I did a pre-apprentice. And I had spoken with some other electricians and said, is the pre-apprentice necessary? And they were like, I mean, you have to go to school anyways. It's learning on the job. And I decided, because it was going to be funded from the government, that I wanted to have something where I felt more comfortable on the job site. I had a little bit of background. I wasn't coming in super green. Like I understood kind of some of the terms. So I was really grateful to have that. And so I'm now officially an apprentice. I'm almost a second year. I almost was able to finish my first year with the one job that I had, but it's been amazing to meet other women in the trades and go down this road.
I want to ask you, when you did your pre-apprentice program,
Mhm.
was there other women in the class?
There was one other female. So
Okay.
there's I'm trying to think how many were in the class. I think there was 16 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 females out of 16.
And the job that you worked on, was there any female on that job as well?
There was one other electrician with another company that came in a bit later. There was a female painter, and that was about it. So it was
Okay.
I was at one point the only female that was on site, and it was a fairly big job because it was a school. So we were building a school from the ground up, and it was it's funny though, like I would be on site and you would see the guys kind of double take, like, oh, there's a girl here.
Did you ever experience negative comments or vibes while you were the only woman on that site, or was it pretty respectful?
I think I was really lucky. It was all the guys that were on my team were awesome. They were so great. I had it was some stuff like if I go to lift a ladder or try and carry a ladder, they're like, "Oh, let me help you." I'm like, "It's okay, I got it." And there was one day where I had to collect all the ladders, and another trade had been like, "Let me help you move that." And the superintendent on the job was there, and he's like, "If she wants to be in construction, let her carry the ladder." And I was like, it felt like he was getting mad at me, but then I was like, no, he's standing up for me. He's letting them, like, I can do it and let her do it. And I think that's some of the things. It's like, I just want the chance to do it. Like some people,
That's right.
they want to help. They'd always be like, "Oh, you need help with this," and I'm like, "No, it's okay. I can do it."
Because by letting you, which would normally just be like making you as an
Yeah,
apprentice
yeah,
do it,
yeah,
makes you a better electrician,
exactly.
right? Gives
Yeah,
you all the experience that you need going forward for your
yeah,
career.
yeah. And I've learned so much that way too. And it's like, I had journeymen they're like, I'm going to let you struggle first so you can see the wrong way to do it. And like, I'll show you an easier and faster way so you can understand the difference. And I was grateful for that. I think some people say, like, did you like that they did that? I'm like, yes, because like I want to see, like I want to do it the way that I'm thinking it should be done. And I was struggling with it. And he's like, okay, now I'll show you an easier way. I'm like, yes, okay.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Is there a reason why you chose to sign up with a union as opposed to trying to find like a private apprenticeship?
I think one of the draws to the union is like safety is number one, and I think they take a lot of consideration into that. I had tried both. Like I had tried to get in just with a non-union company, and so I started. I'm trying to think the years now. It's like they're all blending together. Like I started in 2020. That was when I started on the first job. And then I got in with the union in 2019. So I was on the list for a bit. And I had been I think at a point in my life where I wasn't ready to start right away. And I was okay waiting on the list. And um, I think I really like the brotherhood, like the camaraderie that I feel like when I went to sign my papers, it was everyone's like, hey sister or brother, and it just
Mhm.
like a family and the safety for sure.
I have read a couple of different articles from women that started perhaps in the non-union and moved to a union,
Hmm.
and they indicated that they felt that they had the rules of the union to
Hmm.
kind of ensure that there was equality, that they weren't
Yeah.
being mistreated, that any form of, verbal abuse or insults or any of those things that potentially can happen
Yeah,
are not okay because they represent all the people. Did you feel
exactly.
that was that something that you felt when you went, or it's just maybe so ingrained now that it's just not something they have to really address?
Yeah, I think all the guys that were on my site, they were like my brothers. Like I knew that if anything was going to happen with any other trade, they would be there to back me up. And I think also with the union too is other women. Like I have access to more women in my union that I can talk to and get support from. And I think it would be a bit harder maybe being non-union because if your company doesn't have other women, you can I mean like the social media aspect you can find I think a lot of women in the trade to connect with, but having like I think there might only be 20 of us in the union of 2000 I think in our local,
Okay.
but I was able to meet um, three other women and we've just connected and kept in touch. So it's been really great to have someone that you can just text after work and be like, "Hey, I'm having a bad day," and like just kind of talk about it and they understand and they get it. So that's been great.
And I feel like that's an important thing to discuss for a moment, is that sometimes companies don't realize when they have women working for them that it is nice for the women to be able to work together when there's such a
Yeah.
minority in the group, right? That there is that sense of friendship, I suppose is
Yeah.
the word, right? Just
Yeah.
somebody, an ally, someone on your side that understands where you've been, what your days look like, what maybe your personal life could look like,
Yeah.
as opposed to just spreading the women all around so that it looks as though there's women on every site,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it's fine. They're nice to work with someone else.
Yeah.
Um, do
I
you
think
have any big projects coming up where you might be in that position again, where you're working with a sister? I guess I'll call her.
yep, she's my sister. Sister and friend. Like I've become really close with Shannon and So I just found out today that I'm going to be on site with her tomorrow, like starting tomorrow on, like they're doing, we're going to be working on a hotel. So she's been there for a bit, and I finished up my last job end of December. So I've been off for a bit waiting for my next start. So I'm really excited to be with Shannon and see what it's like to work with another sister in the union. So I think we both have very much the same drive and passion for the trade. So I think it's going to be so nice to have her there and connect that way.
And tell me, like, how long will your apprenticeship take?
So it's 9,000 hours. And so it works out to be about 5 years. So
Okay.
and then in those 9,000 hours, we do 3 blocks of school. So we have a basic level, intermediate, and advanced. And the way they've set my intake up is I'm going to be going to school next January. So it should work out that I'm doing my last block of school really close to when I'm going to be writing my CFQ. I'll have that schooling fresh when I go to write my test for my ticket.
I think it's nice for anyone who's listening who's interested in the apprenticeship program to kind of understand how that works, because I think that people think that you do go to a job site and they're not sure about the schooling part and how all of that works, but it is a very structured system.
Yes.
And anyone who's listening who doesn't know that should know that from us, right?
Yeah. So I think some people have gone to school sooner, and I think they just wanted this intake to have a little bit more on the job training before we go in. And I do have the pre-apprentice as like, so I'm 37 years old, and this is like obviously my second career, and going back to school was so much harder than I ever expected it to be, because like when I was in high school, I didn't do a lot of my science and math. It was more, I wanted to be a graphic designer. That was like in high school what I thought I wanted to do. And so I never took any of my physics. And then here I am thrown into this program 10 years later. And I'm just like, what are circuits? Like, what is happening? I'm like, and there was a point where I was like, I can't do this. I don't think I can. And I just have people in my life that pushed me and said, you can do it, like keep going. And now that I am actually on the job, like it's all kind of coming together. So I think it's so important to do the schooling and on the job, because it just makes it like I'm such a like visual learner to see what is happening, and I'm like, okay, like I get it now that I have both. So I'm grateful that I had the pre-apprentice for that. So I think if anyone is thinking about going into it, this would be a positive to doing the pre-apprentice, to just get your wet a bit in with the math and the science behind it. So
I always like to ask my guests on the podcast a piece of advice. So, do you have a piece of great advice for somebody, or maybe you have a piece of terrible advice that you want to say, this is terrible? Like if someone tells you this, do not follow
so
it.
I have both. I think some advice I had gotten in the past was, being a woman on the job site, don't go in like with painted nails, or don't wear mascara, don't put makeup on, don't kind of hide who you are. And I didn't like that. I was like, I don't want to change who I am. I obviously know what the job site's going to be like. I can gauge that. But like if I want to put mascara on one day, I'm like, who cares? Like I always wanted to stay true to myself, and I'll go and paint my nails. I remember one day I was in the lunchroom and I had got my nails done, and I'm just like eating my lunch waiting for the guy to be like, oh, Darci, did you do your nails? And I'm like, I didn't notice. But like, I think, sorry.
I was going to ask, do you think a little bit of that is because of your age? Like maybe if you were an apprentice going in at 19 or 20, you don't have that confidence?
Maybe, yeah. I think what she was trying to say is like we already like as a woman on the job site, you already have attention on you. Like you're gonna be like
Hmm.
one in how many. But I think it's important to stay true to yourself. Like know your surroundings. Like don't obviously like that was one of the things when I went for the intake is they're like dress for the job that you want. So obviously I'm not gonna come in my like high heels and like a dress. Like I wore jeans and like a boot and a sweater and I think they had girls that had come in their heels and they were just like, she's not gonna, I don't know if they'll make it. So I think I just always wanted to be myself and not really hide
Hmm.
that. And then I think the best advice I could give someone that is looking to get into it is don't give up. Like sometimes it can be a long journey to get to where you are. Like this is 2 years for me in the making, but I never really gave up and I just kept pushing forward and trying. And I think with the schooling, that was kind of a little bit where I was getting down on myself, but I realized that when I went for my interview, they saw that I had the drive and the want to do it. And I think having that type of personality, that's something that um, they can't teach, right? Like I come with that and
Hmm.
they have the source like the resources for the schooling, like they have tutors for you if you need help and that kind of thing. They know that I would put that time in because I wanted it and that I had the drive to do it. I think it's important.
That is important, just to keep going. If you want it, then just keep doing it, right? Um, Before we close off, do you have a story about like a great mentor or friend that either that helped you along the way, or maybe one that was terrible that you want to leave us with a little cute, funny story? I know.
um, I think like Shannon has been such a great connection for me. We met at the union. They were doing there was an announcement for money that was going into the trades and so there was me and Shannon and then two other women that were there and me and Shannon have kept in contact ever since and she's just that person that has like if I am having a bad day she can be like you got this keep going and she is just I'm super excited to work with her. I think it's going to be so amazing to have her as a coworker and I think we're just going to be a powerhouse together. So she has been awesome and I'm very grateful to have her as a sister. Also, like Instagram is such a crazy place because we've also met another girl who is close to like she's half an hour away and like we met her on Instagram and we're super like there are three of us are kind of super tight now and it's been so great to have them as backups.
That's awesome, especially like over the last year with the pandemic. Like I know that your job probably never stopped because the construction didn't stop, but so
Yeah.
many people for social had to move online on some level, right? Like
Yeah.
Zoom calls or FaceTime or building friendships through social media platforms. So that's kind of cool to hear that that worked out and that they were actually in your industry and so close. So
Exactly, yeah, and we're all
yeah.
at kind of different points, so, like, I'm almost a second year, Shannon's second going to third, and then, Andy is actually getting ready to write her test, so it's cool to have different levels too.
That is cool. That is cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, Darci. I have probably reached back out to you to have you on again in the future.
Yeah,
I
for
know
sure.
that it's always cool to hear from women that are in the trades and on the sites and what's going on. So I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, it's been great.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.